Hi, I'm Arif Fahruddin, and welcome to Asian Agribase Podcast, bringing you interviews and update from the animal protein community throughout Asia, from a trusted and dedicated provider of news, information, and market intelligence. In this series, Payungsat Wiryabundit is speaking with Maarten Geraets about opportunities and challenges of alternative proteins in Asia and Thailand. Maarten Geraets is Managing Director of Thai Union Group's Alternative Proteins Division.
Hi, Maarten. Thank you for giving an interview in this podcast.
Thank you, Kun Payunsak. I'm very happy to be here.
Okay. Alternative proteins, especially plant-based options, are gaining traction in Asia. And plant-based eating preference are becoming mainstream. And the market has become more competitive as well, as more players enter the market. So, Maarten, how do you see business opportunities for plant-based protein in Thailand and Asia?
Okay, thank you, Kun Payunsak, for having me on your podcast today. And indeed, the world of plant-based propositions is rapidly developing around the world. You see a lot of traction in Europe and the US. But to come to your question, we also see this happening very much in Asia and Thailand. So it is still early days. It's a category that is relatively young in Asia. But we see the trends picking up in this side of the world. You see more and more product offerings. You see more and more, I would say, brands entering the market, companies entering the market, new launches. We see it entering into food services. So all the different channels, all the different brands are banking on this trend for obvious reasons, because there's a huge drive worldwide on sustainability, as you know, very much needed for the planet. And we also come to the realization that it is needed and better for us from a health point of view. So there's a lot of good reasons for it to also jumpstart in this part of the world. And we are very optimistic that Thailand and the Asian region will follow Europe and the US in similar trends.
In Asia, do you think what are the main drivers for plant-based option? You know, it is a sustainability concern or health concern.
Yeah, I tend to lean more towards health, Kun Payunsak. I think health is a key driver in this part of the world for consumers. But having said that, I think sustainability concerns, especially amongst younger generations, is certainly going to come. And so that will be I would say, the second wave. But today, health is very much a top priority. And having said that, a driver to bring this to market for me is food services. So the food services channel, the work that we, amongst others, but also do with, for example, QSR restaurants, with restaurants in general, to bring these type of solutions to the market is very, very key. Because it allows people, consumers, to taste the products, to try the products, and then they will go out and search for the solutions also at a retail level. So food services is a key driver to make this new category, in a way, a success.
So you're talking about the opportunity and the key driver. So let's turn to the challenge. I mean, what are the main challenges in the plant-based protein market?
Well, there are, as with any business, challenges. The key challenges for alternative proteins today is to come up with wow products. And what do I mean with that? I mean products that really excite consumers, which means they need to live up to the taste, they need to live up to the texture, live up to the price as well. But it is really the taste and texture that is really needed to win. And in many cases, that is still somewhat missing. So we need to do a lot to make sure that we improve our products from a taste and texture point of view, because people need to come back. They need to do repeat purchases in order to be excited. Another challenge, I made a reference to that earlier, is pricing. So people need to not spend a big part of their wallet on these new propositions. So we need to get closer to parity. And last but not least, and especially I would say in Asia Pacific, there's a big need, I would say, to drive consumer awareness. So it is still early days here in Thailand, but awareness needs to be driven for consumers to really go out and seek these propositions.
Yes, you mentioned price parity with meat. So for the industry, can alternative protein reach, the price parity with meat?
Good question. So I'm very confident that we will be able to get to price parity with traditional proteins like meat or seafood. A lot of that is dependent, of course, on us finding the right technologies that are efficient in making these solutions. It is also very much driven by volume. So as we get more volumes and we drive bigger capacities, we will become more efficient. And therefore, that also allows us to drive prices down. So these are, I think, two key levers we need to bring those prices down to parity. We should also, on the other hand, not forget that traditional proteins are under a bit of a pressure. If you look at meat, you have different viruses. I named the bird flu, for example. We know in Thailand, for example, other prices that are going up. So we also will see traditional proteins possibly going up in prices, whilst we are trying to come down in prices. So I think putting those factors into context, I would say that we are probably coming together rather soon in the next couple of years, both for meat as well as for seafood.
In Asia, plant-based protein currently account for the majority of alternative protein investment. But in the future, do you think cultivated meat and fermentation category will gain more traction?
Khun Payunsak, I think why do you see a lot of plant-based solutions today is because this is the starting technology that has been brought to the market. So for us to use plants to mimic seafood and meats. But new technologies are coming up like fermentation, even insects, cell-based or cultured solutions. And they're all alternatives to the traditional proteins. And they will come, and they'll also come to Asia Pacific. Mind you, I would say in cell-based, Asia Pacific with Singapore is actually ahead of the curve, because Singapore is one of the few countries and localities in the world where you can sell today cell-based solutions. So most other markets don't allow this yet. So my vision is as follows. I foresee that in the years to come, from a global point of view, but also for Asia, is we'll get a wide palette of options to choose from as a consumer. We may buy, at certain instances, traditional protein. We may at times go for plant-based solutions. We may sometimes go for fermented. We may sometimes go for cell-based solutions. And so for different occasions, for different moments, depending on your wallet, depending on your aspirations for the day, you may choose one of the different options of proteins that are available. So it's no longer going to be the traditional proteins alone. It is the whole protein market in a way that is going to be enhanced and enriched from an offering point of view.
So there is as you said, a lot of options that consumer can choose from, right?
Yes, and that in a way will be very exciting, because that means there will be also different textures, different tastes, different propositions. So I think it will actually enhance our culinary experiences and our enjoyment into food, of course, assuming that we crack the taste and texture requirements as we are all talking about.
Perspective. But how do you see the, industry outlook, over the next 3 years in terms of technology development, in terms of consumer preference?
Oh, okay. Well, First of all, I mean, the short answer is very, very positively. I think the outlook, despite all of the global economic challenges and political challenges that are out there, I think alternative proteins, and specifically plant-based solutions, are very much on the agenda for the consumer, for health reasons, for sustainability reasons, maybe even for pricing reasons, as pricing, as you know, is coming under pressure for a lot of items. So I think we will see serious growth for the industry in the years to come. Having said that, I think you will see also technologies coming into play. You see a lot of new investments going after for different startups, also in Asia Pacific. There's a lot of, I would say, momentum with different startups going after this opportunity, bringing new technologies to the market. So yes, I think it is a great time to be in this space, and it is a great time to contribute to the growth of this still pioneering category. And yeah, at Thai Union, we're very keen to support that development. And so, as you know, Khun Payunsak, we are based out of Thailand. We have a large manufacturing capabilities. We're known for our manufacturing and processing. And so we're really here to support those that want to go after alternative proteins, to support them in their efforts. We can do that globally, and we are very much doing that also here in Asia Pacific, to drive and support bringing these solutions to the market.
But let me ask you about the broader economic landscape here, where food inflation is rising, and still currently plant-based option and alternative protein is still more expensive than meat. Do you think that will hold back consumer for trying and purchasing the plant-based option, Maarten?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think I'm hopeful that with price inflation and pressures there, that we can find a way on the alternative protein side of the industry to mitigate that as good as we can, and hopefully better than what you see in the traditional proteins. But yes, I think the consumer is under pressure. They have less money to spend. And indeed, they might be a little bit more wary to try new things, especially if their wallet is not as big as it used to be. So yes, I think that faces a challenge, but I don't think that challenge is a whole lot greater than with other categories. So, but yeah, we really need to live up to the expectation to make sure that people buy into to this segment. But yeah, it's challenging times for all of us across all, I would say, the entire food industry. And that may also drive new innovations and new solutions into the future, because we all need to eat, and we all need to find competitive and rightly priced solutions in the marketplace.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned some challenge in this industry: taste, texture, and Thai. So for Thai Union, what is your plan for product development? For taste, texture, and nutritional component, how do you plan to get it right? I mean,
yeah. No, good question, and that's in a way very, very challenging. So what we try to do to get it right on a taste, texture, and nutrition point of view is really to start by really understanding. In the case of, as you know, we are very much focusing on seafood. So on the case of seafood, we really try to leverage our seafood understanding to make sure that we have the solutions based on our understanding of seafood. So we create solutions keeping in mind the muscle structure, the nutrition of seafood, and therefore bring that into a final solution to the marketplace. But it also means that we need to do that in a very agile way. We need to do a lot of different repetitions. We need to pilot. Sometimes we need to launch and then revise and improve. So it's a continuous effort for us to go to better and better solutions as we work on this. And yeah, in the case of alternative options, for example, in the world of meats, Thai Union does a lot of OEM manufacturing, so we support other businesses around the world to get to plant-based offerings. And what we do is we co-create. So we work together with the customer to find the solution that they seek. So that is a joint effort. And what we can offer them is our open innovation efforts. So we work with a lot of different stakeholders in the industry. We're in a way creating an ecosystem with different partners on the ingredient side, on the manufacturing side, on the technology side, on the innovation side. And together with all of those parties, we work together to come to the best propositions that then we can co-create with our end customers. So it's a how would I say it? It's an ecosystem that we try to put together to help our customers bring the best solutions to market.
Mm. So you said you are focusing on plant-based seafood, right? Not other meat, not chicken, no pork. So I'm just curious from the texture and taste point of view. I mean, for seafood, is it harder or is it harder to develop the plant-based seafood? Or
yeah, a good question, Bayonsak. I think it's definitely different. Seafood and fish, as you know, they float or swim in the water. Whilst chicken or beef walks on land. So because of that inherent difference, their muscle structures are different. You will see that the texture is often also lighter. It has lighter colors also in most cases, a more delicate taste. So it's definitely a very different proposition and not something you can easily replicate if you do meat. And that is, I think, the key differentiator that we try to put forward is to really use the Thai Union know-how of seafood, of all of the different species. And Payunsak, there are more than 200 different species of seafood. So there's a lot of differentiation and solutions we need to work out because a shrimp is not the same as tuna, for example. So you can imagine that there's a lot more effort that needs to go into this. And at the same time, there's much more differentiation versus the traditional meat replicas. So yeah, that makes it very exciting, but in my view, also more complicated than meat.
Okay. I just want to ask you one more question about nutritional value. Some people in the industry may ask, can plant-based protein fulfill nutritional needs? Because in order to make it big and bigger market, the nutritional value has to be right? I mean, and what are your opinion on this?
Well, I fully agree with your statement earlier that nutritional value is extremely important. Now, I don't think we necessarily need to compare like for like. I mean, if I eat chicken or a plant-based chicken, that doesn't need to be identical because your palate or what you eat during a meal is much more than only chicken. But we do need to make sure that you get the right protein levels and the right proteins. We need to make sure that you have all of the necessary minerals and vitamins within the proposition. And at the same time, we should not forget that we can also take out possibly some of the baddies, right? Some of the fats that you don't want, some of the cholesterol that you don't want. So to give you an example, we are currently in the process of developing our plant-based shrimp that will not have any cholesterol, that will be free from all of those things. So I think it cannot be compared like for like, but there will be different benefits that we can provide. At the same time, to your point, we need to make sure that we have as complete a nutrition profile in our products. But that can, in most cases, be resolved. So we can add the iron, the zinc, and we can reduce the sugar levels as we need. And I think that is indeed a big question in the category today, is that not all of the propositions out there are as nutritious as they could be or should be. And I think as an industry, in the world of alternative proteins, alternative meat, alternative seafood, the industry needs to work to crack this and make this right. Because to your point, if we don't do this, we will not succeed, because the consumer needs its nutritional values. Yeah, point taken. I fully agree with you on this.
Okay. Apart from this, we mentioned earlier that, right now the competition is intense, apart from the animal protein producer, new player also entering the market. If we go to the supermarket in Thailand, we will see that, there are more and more options, more and more brands coming up. So are you concerned about competition?
Yes. No, I think actually competition is good, and competition is what is needed. As I mentioned earlier, this category is still very, very small. Awareness is very, very low amongst consumers. Product quality is maybe not always yet where it could be or where it should be. Nutrition values, there may also be some challenges. And as you know, competition will get the best out of everyone. So we need that competition to grow the market, to grow attention and awareness, to get better products to the market. So all of the traction that you see with all of the different players entering, in my view, is a very, very good signal as to what is going to happen with plant-based in Thailand and also in Asia. And that's what I said. I think you see now products at different QSRs, coffee houses. So I think I'm of the impression that this is something that is here to stay, and that will only further grow. And the more growth there is, the more opportunity is for everyone. So I'm very optimistic with regards to the category and what is going to happen in the Asia Pacific.
Okay, thank you so much, Maarten, for your insightful analysis about the industry.
Kumpai Yonsak, thank you very much for reaching out, and it was a pleasure to be here today, and look forward to staying connected. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another Asian Agribiz podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.